Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. You know, it's really cool for me when I have guests on that I've been fans of their music. And my next guest here, Mark Buteux, is from a band called Kings of Frog Island. They're a great psychedelic blues rock band out of Leicester in England. And I've been listening to them, you know, at least 10 years, maybe longer. They're getting ready to come out with their 6th record. Really cool band. Let me tell you some information about Mark. Again, he's a guitarist, the primary writer of. Do you sing too? I meant to ask you. Are you the singer?
No, I'm not the singer. I wish I was.
Yeah, man. Because some of that, you're the vocals. Because it was funny. I was listening, just like after I had put your questions together. I was just listening to some Kings of Frog Island, and I was like, wow, man, his singing voice is really different than speaking, which most people's are anyway, you know, but it was like, because the vocals are really good there, man. Anyway, guitarist and primary writer, Kings of Frog Island. Again, they're a heavy psychedelic stoner rock band out of Leicester, England. The band's getting ready to release their 6th album called, dig this, 6, sometime in the next few months. Originally, the sound of fuzz made Mark want to play guitar. First, he listened to Mudhoney and then the Stooges. Other influences, of course, the Beatles, Monster Magnet. I don't know if you're not hip to Monster Magnet and you like psychedelic blues rock, check them out. Queens of the Stone Age, Pink Floyd, Black Sabbath, and Jesus and Mary Chain. His first electric guitar was a secondhand Ibanez Strat that he wishes he never let go. He first played electric guitar into a tape deck because he didn't have an amplifier, and he found that if he turned up the recording level, sound distorted, and it was great. He played a 300-pound, that's not 300 pounds in weight, that's like 300 pounds in like money. You know, some of our listeners, they don't get out much. 1970s Fender Strat for years. Then he got an ancient 60s Fender Music Master for 220 pounds, again, money, not weight. And he put in Seymour Duncan's and played that for 5 years. After that, he bought a new Gibson SG, which he played almost exclusively for 15 years. Amp-wise, he currently is using a Kemper with profiles of his JMP in orange, but he loves some of the Mesa Boogie and Dumble profiles. He dug out all his old pedals to start building different sounds. This guy's a tech guy. He's smart as shit. He engineers, mixes, produces. He's a very bright guy musically and when it comes to in the studio stuff. The band all loves sounds like Ennio Morricone, the spaghetti western movies, and they try to incorporate as much percussion as they can into their into the, how do I say it, percussion as opposed to drums. You guys do a great job with percussion and adding it to the melodies to enhance the actual melody of the song, man.
The sonic landscape.
Yes, thank you. See, he's bright. He knows all these big SAT words. And a third of what they write leans towards cinematic themes. And in fact, a lot of, or some of their songs have been used in a number of movies. In fact, I think I told you that I was sitting down one day and I heard Welcome to the Void. And I'm like, holy shit, I know that song. And it was, you know, so I've heard you in at least one movie, maybe 2. And lately they're listening to a lot of Hans Zimmer and Vangelis. Mark, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, man. And I'm a big fan, so that's always cool, man. I really am. Let me ask you this. Before Kings of Frog, you know what? Let me ask you another. I'm just all over the place. I'm so excited. I never asked this question because it's a silly question that nobody wants to get asked. But because I'm a fan, I'm going to ask it. How did you get the name Kings of Frog Island? It's just a cool name.
Okay. Oh, my God.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I hope that's the only question I ask you that you're going to hate. I'm sorry.
No. 20 odd years ago, we were gigging as a band called Granton Star, named after an Irving Welsh book, who did Train Spotting, a big British film.
Oh, yeah. Great movie, man.
And we did some posters for it. And I think we'd heard about Queens of the Stone Age and things like that. And we did this poster and we modelled it on a boxing promotion. So we had it as the heavyweight Kings of Frog Island Grant and Starr will be playing at the Charlotte in Leicester.
Oh,
And the bit that stuck was the Kings of Frog Island. And Frog Island is it's an area in Leicester where I lived at the time, and it used to be. Now, my history is not very good, but it sounds great. It sounds like a little tropical island with palm trees and frogs. It's not. It's a little bit of land. I think it's in between a river and a canal,
right.
And it basically, so it's land, sort of a landlocked little thing surrounded by water, and it's where they used to make the frogs on the lapels for soldiers in the Victorian Army, I believe, and that's why it's Frog Island. They were called frogs.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
So, but it's stuck as. It doesn't sound like you're very interested, but we're
no, it's cool, man. You guys have a lot of.
That's it. It's just. But I think we like that sort of history thing, you know.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
I think it's worth it. I think when you live in somewhere like Leicester, where it goes back, back to Roman times, there's lots of little sort of names and fun things that you can use in songs. And when you go back to that sort of psychedelic music, a lot of that incorporates things from the back, even strawberry fields, things like that.
Yeah,
that's the idea.
It's funny because if you go to Central Park in New York, they have this big. I don't know if you've been. Have you been to New York or to the States?
No, I went to the States for a day. I was visiting a friend in Canada, and I hadn't got my visa in my passport because I'd flown into Canada. You're not allowed into America unless you can do it the other way around, but you can't go Canada to America from the UK. You couldn't then. So I was in the back of a car, and they said, just keep your head down. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. And they stopped us and said, no, you can't. You got to go back. So I got as far as the customs or the border control in the States, and then got sent back.
I want to talk to you about the Bose S1, which is an amazing speaker for acoustic guitars that I've been playing lately. The S1 has two separate channels. It has one for your guitar and then another one for a microphone. And then there's a third channel you can use for a looper or for backing tracks that you could access by Bluetooth or through a 1/8 inch plug. And the S1s are also very easy to carry. It's got an easy to grab top handle and absolutely anyone can tote it around, and it's also rechargeable for up to 11 hours. The S1 was specifically designed to optimize the sound of your acoustic guitar on acoustic guitar gigs. The guitar and mic channels each have separate tone, volume, and reverb controls, and there's also a proprietary tone match switch which restores and optimizes the natural sound of your acoustic guitar, which, as you know, is typically the biggest problem with acoustic amps. Now, I tested the S1 myself, and the tone, volume, and reverb controls sound great, and they're very responsive. You can position the S1 in 4 different ways. You can tilt it back so you broadcast out to an audience, or you could put it horizontally, vertically, or on a stand. And the cool thing is the S1 has a Bose accelerometer, so it automatically adjusts the EQ and optimizes the sound for whichever one of these 4 positions you're using. The S1 also happens to be the best Bluetooth speaker that Bose makes, which is pretty compelling since Bose is known for the quality of their Bluetooth speakers. So effectively, you have an acoustic guitar amp, a PA, and a killer Bluetooth speaker all in one. And the bottom line is this. If you're an acoustic guitar player, there's absolutely nothing out there that sounds this good and this big that's also easy to carry and battery powered. As far as the Bluetooth speaker goes, I've used it many times here at home for family barbecues, and the sound is so good, my kids wind up arguing over who gets to play the music they want. You know, it's literally like having a full stereo system out on your patio. You can use the S1 for DJing, tailgating, or whatever you want. Before this, you'd have to spend a bunch of money on loads of different speakers and pedals to get the same thing the S1 does on its own. On top of that, it looks great just like all Bose devices do. And besides whatever money back guarantee you get from wherever you buy the S1, Bose also warranties the S1 for 2 years for any kind of defects in materials or performance. For more information and to find out where to get your own S1, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/S1. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/S1. Get the S1. It's outstanding. Are you looking to buy or sell a home in the Tampa Bay area without having to deal with pushy realtors? Then make sure you connect with West Florida Real Estate. West Florida Real Estate has helped over 300 homeowners and investors buy and sell their properties over the last 5 years. Their service is outstanding, just like back in the days when there was actually service in the service business, and you'll never have to deal with any kind of sales junk when you're working with them. For more information, email Ann with an E at westfloridarealestate.com. That's ANNE at westfloridarealestate.com. If you're enjoying this show and you'd like to support it, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/support. And for information on advertising, visit everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. Yeah, because you're a threat.
I know. So dangerous. With my ukulele. Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's all you musicians are so dangerous. There's a thing you mentioned Strawberry Fields. If you go to Central Park, there's this big John Lennon. You've probably seen it in pictures or movie or and it's called, that section of the park is called Strawberry Fields. They renamed it. It's kind of cool. It's like a very it's right across the street from the Dakota, which is the building where he lived in and was killed in front of. Yeah, so it's just kind of nostalgic, that whole sort of thing. It's kind of cool.
Is that where they did the vigil? Where they
yes. Yeah, and oftentimes you'll go and they have candles out there. It's pretty like, it's weird. Sometimes you go and people are playing songs with acoustic guitar, and other times you go and they have candles and it's like really deep, so it's great for taking pictures, but it's, whatever. All right. So now let me ask you the question I was going to ask you is, before Kings of Frog Island, what were you doing musically? And then how did you guys come together?
I've not played with that many musicians. I think friends that I had at school, sort of, 17, 18 years old, sort of college sort of years. Good friends, Dodge, who's the drummer in the Kings of Frog Island, Lee, who was a bass player. I was in other bands with Lee. And there's another band called Scump Ups, which Dodge played in, and they were doing quite well, kind of a grunge band. And it kind of inspired us just to get into it and keep going. And then what really sort of happened over the years, loads and loads of sort of local gigging, no aspirations really to become famous or do anything like that, just playing music for just enjoyment and pleasure. The band kind of dissolved. I think Dodge was moving away, Lee was going to move away, and I thought, you know what, I've got to do something. So the first Kings album really is just like all the best bits of all the years in that band. You take all your best riffs. We'd got a studio in Leicester, and we went in. I said, right, okay, we're going to, over a couple of nights, we'll recorded as much of all the good stuff that we could. And then it kind of just went into a vault for about a year until the singer whose voice you love, I was recording his band. And I said, you know what, I'll record your band, but I want you to sing on this stuff I've got. And that's how the Kings was born. So even up to that point, it wasn't the Kings. But as soon as he joined, it twisted it and changed it dramatically. Dead easy. Guys called Matt Bettencourt. Fabulous musician, great guitarist, great singer, great writer. He's in a band, plugging his band at Cherry Choke. We recorded one of their albums for them, A Night in the Arms of Venus. Wonderful psychedelic band.
What's the name of the band?
Cherry Choke. His previous band was called Josiah, and they're also an awesome band. Definitely worth a listen. Cherry Choke, and he's out of Leicester as well. Yeah, it's funny, with two of us in the band. So his surname's Bettencourt, mine's Buteux. When he was touring France, he said everybody thought that the Kings of Frog Island were a French stoner band.
Yeah. Well, that's what I asked you. I said, gee, you're French. You said no, because it's unusual. Yeah, in Leicester, you're a French guy. Okay, I give you credit for like locking, just being patient and not having an agenda, and sort of like just waiting till the universe sort of presented you a good time to release that. Yeah, it's a strange one. I think when I've noticed this with a lot of bands. I mean, you've probably witnessed it as well. You'll get bands that are out there on the circuit. They're touring for a few years. They write loads of music. They get a really good set that they're used to gigging with. They then get a deal and they'll go and record the album.
and that will be their high point. The second album is kind of the stuff that was left over from the first one.
Yeah.
And the third one is the one where they have to really work hard because they've run out of material and they've been on tour and they've got nothing left.
Yes.
And I think we were lucky. I'd had 10 years of playing, just a huge back catalogue of ideas and riffs and things that had never really been finished or used in a serious way. So when we recorded it, it was kind of like, well, this is, I don't know, like a memory, just capturing the memory of all these things for us. Not, you know, not to release it, but then you do it and you think, actually, you know, it sounds quite good. And then somebody else comes in and suddenly goes up a gear again, and you think, and then he's going, actually, there's a German guy who released this, which was Electro Hash, who do.
They're a pretty big label.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're huge. I mean, Colour Haze are a huge band.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Colour Haze is on there.
That's Stefan Cogleg, and then he put out the first 3 albums, and you go, well, it's great, you know. So you don't expect it, but it just came from those sort of few nights recording the best things that we'd ever kind of written.
Well, dude, actually, the first album is like phenomenal, man. I mean, it's really good.
That QED, you've just proved my point. Your first album is your best album.
You know, well, I mean, you got Leon on there, Slate Blue Sky, which is an awesome. I mean, like almost all the songs I have like as 5 stars. There's some great tracks on there.
Yeah, it's the one I'm probably most proud of. I think it was, from an engineering point of view, really, really simple album. I went back and had a look at all the kind of the saved project files that I saved when I did the recordings. And you go back and you realise that the guitars were one mic. It's an SM57 on a cab. The vocals were done with the same microphone, you know, an SM50. And you think, God, I had no kit. There was nothing to it. You know, I think to record nearly everything, it'd be me and the drummer. The drummer, I owned 4 microphones. So really, really simple. When you go back, the track count is about 8 tracks of, you know, including kick and snare. There's nothing to it. And you play it back and you think, that sounds great. I need to do that again. It
sounds really good. And if you listen to it, like I said, I listened to this probably about a week or 2 ago. And now that you're mentioning it, this album is 15 years old at this point. It sounds great. It doesn't sound like, oh, this was recorded 15 years ago. It's great. I mean, you got some like Slate Blue Skies. You got a lot of stuff going on there. It's a great record. The whole record is great. There's tons of good songs on there.
I think that the other thing is working with the people that I'd grown up with, but it's also kind of a few people you've met along the way. So, you know, you get somebody who can really, really sing and really do justice to the songs with some great lyrics. And then a friend who came in, who I was working with in my day job, who was good on keyboard, and I'd been recording work with him. So, you know, will you play some nice keyboard? And we picked up a Roland Juno keyboard, like an old proper Rick Wakeman analog synth. And we held the button down and it wobbles and it sounds great. This lad Gavin Wright comes in and he goes, oh, I know how to play one of these. And he's doing all the dials on it and making it sound great. And he plays this synth that sounds like it could be from the Doors.
That's awesome, man.
Wow, you know, again, we've had that keyboard in our band now. It's on every album for, oh gosh, I don't know, been knocking around for 20 years. We only found out last year it's stereo. So we've only ever recorded it in mono.
That's so funny, man. So now you got another project.
Yeah, why not?
That's so cool, man. Have you been doing all the mixing and engineering since day one?
Yeah, it's always collaborative. I think the first album, the way we worked, we had a big room and we all sat there, and if we liked things, it would stick. I'd probably say I do more of the editing. Mixing, it's always collaborative. You know, once you get close to what you want it to sound like, we would then all take away at the time. You know, most of the time it'd be CDs, and everybody has a CD. You come back next week and you say, I think the bass is too loud or too woolly, or the drums aren't in your face enough, or you need a slap back reverb on the vocal. So, you know, everybody's kind of inputting all the time, but you do a lot of tweaking. But I work really closely with Gavin Searle, who's in Kings of Frog Island and does more of the singing now. And we've both been sort of mixing and producing right from the second album onwards. Just a good working relationship. You know, when I'm bored of something, he'll start moving things and changing.
Got it. Yeah. That is great to have someone like that, because it's hard to stay focused on one. You know, you hear something 20 times, you forget.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not easy, man.
No, I mean, with the mixing, I mean, I think we when we talked briefly a little while ago, I was saying that I don't really get a chance to listen to other music. If you've constantly got 10 or 20 songs that you're kind of working on, all you're listening to is the stuff that you're doing.
Yeah.
If I get half an hour of free time, I don't really want to listen to anything, you know, just peace. But it's constantly evolving, and then you have to leave things and put them to bed for a bit and forget about them because you're not really hearing them anymore. And then
That's important, though, man. Yeah, I think it makes a huge difference. In your bio, we kind of just started touching on this. It said that you had ear fatigue, and it put you off being a full-time recording engineer. Just specifically, what do you mean by ear fatigue, and what was the story behind that?
I remember recording a band in Leicester called Chong, and they're really good sort of stoner band. I think they could have been amazing. They didn't do anything. They just dissolved. But it was two guitarists and a wonderful drummer and a great singer. And we spent 2 days recording them off the back of recording, I think it was Josiah. So we'd recorded Josiah maybe for a weekend. I'd been in a few nights recording my own band and a couple of days recording them. And at the end of the week, just headaches and couldn't bear the volume levels and the music. And I think, if you're recording, I don't know, if you were recording acoustic music, I would imagine a lot of sound engineers go through this who work in venues when they're doing like 2 kilowatt PAs. You just don't enjoy it anymore. I was just getting headaches, trying to switch off from music after it, maybe spending 2 hours winding down. But it's like you've just drank tons and tons of caffeine and your ears are ringing all night.
Yeah.
And then off the back of that, and I think it's probably more to do with gigging, playing my sort of amp I used most was a 50-watt Marshall. Now, 100 watts and 50 watts, there isn't a lot in it when you're on stage. Usually playing with a 4x12, but even venues in Leicester, like a 200 capacity venue, might have a couple of kilowatt PA. You can't even hear a 50-watt Marshall. Well, if I put that on at home, the walls shake.
Absolutely.
So standing with it on your left ear, playing for 3 or 4 hours a week, I'd say I started noticing I was getting balance issues. So, like my left ear's got bad tinnitus. It's improved over the years. I think having sensible volume levels when I'm sort of mixing and doing things now, it's made a big difference. But it was really worrying for a bit because you think, well, you hear stories about people like Pete Townsend and Brian Wilson, and you think, well, I don't know how I would mix and how I would work things. And I've definitely lost, and I bet most of the people you speak to probably lost all their high range hearing. If you do hearing tests and you hear the sine wave as it goes up to the top, I've got the hearing of like a 90-year-old or something like that.
Wow. So you basically had that's why you never did this full time.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I think even then, just for like a few weeks of doing it off the back of recording our own albums, you just think, I can't do this for a living. It would drive me mad. It's too intense. And you said it yourself, if you're listening to the same song 30, 40 times, just tweaking things up and down a little bit, it stops being fun. And the other thing is, if it's somebody else's music, if they've already recorded it and you're just mixing it or engineering it or making it sound nice, great fun. If you're in the band, if you're in the studio with them recording, there's 7 or 8 hours.
It's tougher when it's your own stuff, for sure, man. It's because you could be relentless on it and never. There's no ending to the adjustments. Yeah, I totally get that. All right, so I want to talk about the music. You do a really great job in the songwriting of like building up climaxes musically, and especially on long songs, that's not an easy thing because you got a lot of space to fill, and you have a really good ability to control that. Sometimes, building it up multiple times. You're giving us multiple climaxes, Mark. Uh, but leave it to the Americans to come up with that, right? So my question is, how did you learn to do that? Because you really do a great job of it, and I, again, on a long song especially, that's not easy. But you seem to have like a really good control of momentum, a sonic momentum.
Wow. Okay. I like songs that do that. I think just before we started this, we were talking about the Doors.
Yeah.
And I think, and I hadn't thought about this at all for years and years until you mentioned it. But you think a song like The End.
Yeah.
Now, I associate it with Apocalypse Now a lot. I think
yeah, of course. Yeah.
So something like that, you're feeling the build up, you're waiting for the napalm to go off. And the more that when we were playing live, you think, well, I want that. I want the light and the shade, not the Led Zeppelin thing. We're not Led Zeppelin. We've never been that kind of musical. But you appreciate, if you start off gentle and you build up, at least you're reaching a climax. Now, one of the kind of the in-jokes of the band is when we were playing live, we wanted every song to be at the end of it, you're crashing into the sun. You want to go faster and faster and faster, and more intense.
That's a great analogy.
You get used to kind of that build-up, and then when you're recording, I think because you're used to doing it live, a lot of the recording that we do is synchronized to either click tracks or loops. I'll record a drummer, and we'll take all the best bits and construct a song out of it. The studio recording, some are live, some are jams, but generally it's a lot easier to work with synchronized drum beats. But then what you get is you don't get that natural kind of lift of speed where everybody gets excited at the end.
Yeah.
So if you're constructing songs, say digitally in Pro Tools or Cubase or Logic or Nuendo or whatever, you can see it. Visually, you can see the blocks of all the waveforms. So just from as a jigsaw puzzle, you can see there's not many blocks going to lots of blocks. So there's lots going on. And you think, well, if you get near the end of a song and you've got a couple of guitars, hard pan left and right, typically, think, well, okay, I'll stick a solo on it. And you're looking for the gap in the frequency spectrum to say, well, what area have I missed? And if you look at music like Phil Spector's sort of wall of noise,
yeah,
think, well, I want things to end like that. I don't want there to be any room in the mix at all. There's got to be, every kind of frequency has got to be full.
Crashing into the sun.
Yeah, it's got to be intense until it finishes. Not always, but I do like that. That's the thing we do.
Well, you do it great too. Like, let's take a song like Slate Blue Sky. And what I like a lot about Kings of Frog Island is it's not always a guitar solo. Like, you do a great job with the vocals, with the harmonies, and it's not even vocals. It's like, like Welcome to the Void. It's like chanting, or I don't even know what the hell you're doing, but I just know it fucking sounds amazing, man. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Again, Matt was singing at that point, and he got a really, really good voice, lots of ideas. I think Slate Blue Sky, when we recorded that, it was done live, so it's not a MIDI synced loop thing. It was, I think, from memory, it was myself and the drummer playing. It's a really simple riff, and I think it's one of those where the chorus is just basically the verse but played on chords. So the verse might be one string playing a very simple riff, and then the chorus is just literally hitting all the strings, and that gives it a natural, you've got a valve amp and you're digging in basically, so it gets a bit of a lift.
Hold on, let me process that. So the chorus is often the melody except in chords, so you're just making it thicker.
Yeah, basically. I think,
okay.
I did have a quick listen to it recently, and all I think I did at the time, I just doubled up the guitar so re-recorded an overlaid guitar over the chorus, and then it was the Doors thing. The guy with the keyboard came in and played some keyboard underneath it, which is the run out. But again, it's really simple. But I think that one, the energy from that, and the climax is the fact that it's played live. So we're probably getting a bit faster.
Yeah.
And I'll take it whichever way it comes. I don't mind how it works.
No, I hear you. You know what? You said something that I had never articulated, but it's very accurate. And it's the problem why, like, I always immediately know when there's a drum machine. Like, I was listening to, I don't want to say the name, somebody that I had on the show, and great guitar player, great musician. And he had drum tracks, and it just fucking sounded horrible. And I couldn't articulate why. I'm like, why? But it's what you said, the feeling. The drum track does, fake drums doesn't have feeling.
Yeah, it is really hard. I think you write differently as well. If you're in a room playing with the drummer, nearly all of the riffs that we've ever recorded, or everything really, is written around the drum beat. So it could be I'm trying to think of a good example of something we've done, but I think most people say you go in and you'll play somebody else's riff. You think, I've heard this week, I really like it, and then your drummer will play it a bit, and before you know it, you've gone off at a tangent and come up with your own kind of groove off the back of it, and completely forgot what you were doing. Our drummer always said it's the groove,
Yes,
but I think the thing I learned over those sort of early years of recording is you only really get that on the night when you get it. If you write the song that night and you don't record it, the next time you go back and try and do it, it won't ever be quite like it was on that night. It's weird. I'd love it if it was, because on the night when you're doing that, you're generally not in the mood for recording, and also, and you've not written the kind of structure, so the structure kind of goes out the window. You just get a best guess at what it might be like.
Yeah.
But then what I found, and this is probably true of the second album, which I know you like, Welcome to the Void and songs like that.
Yes.
You can go in and you can record those things. You record your groove and your riff and your live kind of take on an idea, but you can edit it. And digitally, you can splice on a kick drum, usually, like the first beat of the bar, and you go, right, that's a great section. This is a rubbish section. Let's just completely get rid of that, and splice the song. So you're only taking the very original, the jam, basically the jam session that I've had with the drummer. You splice it all up, cut it into sections, completely ruining your perception of the band now. I'm sure I'm not the only one who does this.
No. But this is really interesting, because this is like the psychology of band recording process. This is really good.
Well, I wonder if this is a thing of the modern age of bedroom musicians. You've got Billie Eilish out there recording with her brother in her bedroom and making hundreds of millions of YouTube plays, and hats off to it. It's amazing that you can do these things and you've got the ears to do it.
Yeah.
When you record in a band, if you're in a studio, even a cheap studio is going to be, I don't know, $50 an hour. Even if you're in some sort of local dive who just does it for a living, nobody can afford that. You can't go in and jam songs and come up with ideas that are going to be your first perfect take. We're not Tom Jones. We're not going to do everything on the first take.
Yeah.
So, but
not when you're creating, for sure. Not when you're creating. That's not realistic for anybody.
But by having that kind of thing early on, where we got a working studio, so our rehearsal setup was one guitar, drum kit, bass, vocals, keyboard. But it would generally be myself and the drummer with the bass player and the singer doing the recording. hitting the record button, but everything was set up permanently. So you go in, you could play, really grind out, find some riffs, hit record when you've got a good idea. A week later, you go back, you play everything back that you've listened to with fresh ears, and you go, right, I love that bit. And this is where the collaboration comes in. You know, a bass player would be saying, I know you like it, but I don't like that bit. I like this bit.
Right.
And then you edit it all down. And if you're really lucky, I think something like Slate Blue Sky, my memory of it is, and it might be wrong, I think we pretty much all played live. And it is what it is. I don't think there's any editing.
It's a great song, man. Really cool. A really cool song. Everything is so well. Sorry, I just want to say it's so put together. Like everything is so well integrated on that song, man. It's like very like everything was fucking working.
Yeah, it'd be nice if I could do that all the time.
Yeah. So and only only the Beatles can do that all the time. That was
yeah.
You know, that was season. But I think I've heard many times about, you know, the value from loads of guitar players. The first anchor of their band is a drummer. You know, they all want, you know, because if you don't have, without that, you're just screwed. You don't get the groove. And everybody that's a good musician knows, okay, this is about the groove first, what we could build around the groove, you know, and if your drummer shit, it's screwy.
Well, that's you know, I mean, our drummer was really into metal. So he liked Slayer and all the double bass pedal things.
Yeah.
And he quite liked, and he was trained, his name's Roger Watson, and he was trained as Boys Brigade marching drummer. So
wait a minute, is this the same guy, Dodge?
Yeah, Dodge.
Okay. That's a great name, by the way, for a drummer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great name for anyone.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So he's really good at all those sort of snare paradiddles and things, all the technical things. I think he even played in an orchestra at one point at school. And you get him in, and you take bits of kit off him. So when we play live, we'd say, right, you'll hate me for saying this. You can use your kick drum, and you can use your snare, and you can use your ride, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like no toms, not even a floor tom. So what can you do? You know, amazing, absolutely amazing, because he's working the drum kit and focusing on what he's playing. And then when you start recording, you think, well, actually, we're not going to set up the full kit. We'll just give you a floor tom. And this is where the percussion side comes in. So you're saying, right, we're not going to play bog standard 10 songs of straightforward rock and roll. I want you to just play a floor tom and make it sound like it's timpani.
Oh, okay. So you came up with that idea?
I think we're all the same. We all really like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's really cool, but that's really creative, man. That's really...
I think even, I remember something I'd not done before. I think it was my memory of it. I mean, it's a long time ago. One of the guitarists who came in who played on Welcome to the Void, it's his riff actually. He came in and put the tambourine on the floor tom, and then we recorded.
Oh yeah, and you can hear that.
You know, and it's amazing sound, and you think it's so different. So things like that, you kind of suddenly that becomes the focal point, and all the guitars get forgotten. And
man, that sounds like very tribal kind of when he did when you have that. It's really because it reminds you, at least me when I'm listening to it, it sounds like, especially with the chanting behind that, it sounds like Native American Indian kind of stuff with the
But we were thinking, I think that we've got some rule of fire.
You got some
I don't know what they say. So we say rule of fire.
What is that?
No idea.
Okay.
I don't know. On the night, it seemed like a good idea.
Yeah.
I remember a few of them me sitting in the recording booth recording while doing it, and just thinking, what are we doing? But it sounds good.
Sounds amazing. One of the best songs ever, man. That's like a signature. You know, it's for a band to have a song like that. To me, it's like, you know, a defining song that just stands up forever, and it's great. That's pretty cool, man. You know,
it'd be nice to have like another 10. Like
yeah, no, I hear you. Every writer says that, man. You know, of course it would. Hey, you never know. You've probably got 2 or 3 of them, so you got to get 6 or 7 more.
Yeah.
All right. I want to ask you about some of my favorite Kings of Frog Island songs. Welcome to the Void, we've been talking about. Where did the idea come from because it's like a couple of separate lines. They're not complicated, but man, they're just the way they carry everything else is amazing.
It was a really, I'd love to say I came up with a riff. I didn't. It was,
you could say it.
Yeah. It was all me. I'll take credit for the fact that another guitarist went in with my drummer. It's a guy called Matthew Day, Midge. He plays on that album. He recorded a couple of demo songs with the drummer, and I heard them, and I thought, oh, this is so good. I just thought, oh, I've got to do something with these. And we'd released the first album, no intentions of doing any more.
Really?
First album. Yeah, the first one was a one-off, and I couldn't get.
Well, let's see. When was Welcome to the? I was 3 years later. Okay, 2008. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we recorded it. I mean, we recorded it on the 6th of June 2006 because I thought it's the
666. Yeah.
Yeah. Devil's Day.
Yeah, you had the mojo going. Yeah.
Yeah, we thought let's have 24 hours in the studio. So I thought, cool. Well, I got nothing to start with. We got no ideas, no kind of backing tracks or anything. And I said, well, if you could come down and record those 2 songs that you did on that demo. And it was about 3 years after he'd done the original demo. Said, I really love them. I want to do them. But he couldn't get there until the afternoon. So I was there at midnight with the drummer. So we recorded all the backing tracks, playing his tunes. And then throughout the day, other musicians were turning up. So Matt came in and he played a bit of guitar over most of the album. Midge came in, played his bits. We had another guy, Tony Heslop, he came in, played a few bits and bobs on it. And then we mixed all of it together. So that song is kind of a bit of a mishmash of 4 different people playing guitar and the best bits. But weirdly, I think the song was about twice as long. There is a version knocking around on the internet somewhere.
You're kidding me, man.
There's a whole run out that is totally.
All right, where on the internet would I find it? Because I want to listen to it. If I just look up "Welcome to the Void"?
Yeah, early edit or something like that.
Okay.
I've not put it on there. Somebody else has put it on there. I don't know. I blame Gav. He's usually guilty.
Early edit.
Yeah, something like that. But it's
so let me just tell the listeners, this is a song off their second album, Kings of Frog Island, and it's called "Welcome to the Void." So look up on YouTube. I would assume early edit of that song. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, Mark.
So then on that, so the idea was that everything would be recorded in a day and done, not mixed.
Yeah,
pretty much all the backing done. And I'd say probably about 8 of the 10 songs were done in that 24-hour window. So all the things like the vocals were towards the end of the day. We had whoever was left basically just recording their bits. Matt, with the wonderful voice, he sang his vocal on it. And then we needed to do lots of backing.
What is the vocal? Is it actual songs or is it just chanting, like making noises?
It was a bit of a stream of consciousness thing when he did it. There were no lyrics written. I think he just listened and sang. So, just a made-up thing. And then because he only got the one idea, it was just looped through.
Yeah.
But it works.
It works amazing. How many movies has that song been in?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. I mean, the most of the stuff that we've released that's been used like that tends to be in surfing films. And there were some guys we worked with in Brazil called Bullet Tree, or Bullet, I don't know how they say it, but it's Bullet Tree Films. And they did a lot of skateboarding and surfing films for Red Bull. And I think one of the guys went off to work for MTV globally, and he was going around the world filming. So that occasionally we get asked, have you got a bit of music that we can use on a film or something like that? And then I think occasionally I'll be watching something on YouTube. It's usually somebody doing some crazy mountain biking off a cliff, and it'll have "Welcome to the Void" playing in the background.
Really? You own the publishing on that?
I guess we do. Yeah, I think it'll.
Like when you see it, do you say, "Hey guys, take it off," or do you just leave it, or what do you do?
No. Just get on with it.
Yeah.
I'd rather it be heard. I mean, I figured if a big Hollywood movie picks up something like that, then go, yeah, go, ka-ching, thank you. I want the cash.
No, man, I agree with you.
You know, we talked about this a lot when we were first playing. I think when we did the first album, I don't know whether it was a good thing or a bad thing. It came out just as MP3 music was started to be distributed on the internet, and you think in those days you could have perhaps had a pretty big indie release and made a fair bit of money off it, but just as it came out, it went onto Napster and places like that, and there were hundreds of thousands of downloads in the first few weeks because it was getting really good reviews across America and Europe on a lot of the kind of psychedelic sort of.
Yeah.
But it was almost crossing over into some sort of bigger territory. But then you think, you know what? It's split however many people were involved. You know, you split some money 5 ways. Everybody gets a couple of quid each.
Yeah.
So let's not bother. I'd rather people listen to it. I think it's better.
Yeah, well, then you get turned on to new fans, because the reality is, would that many people have paid for it? And I can tell you, as a guy who's made intellectual property marketing programs and stuff, no, I can tell you not. You know, because you see all these people download, and it's like, you know, that's nice, but I know that many people wouldn't have been buying it. That's the truth of it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we realised that. We were looking at it thinking, well, this is great, because how often are you going to get 100,000 people listening to your music?
Absolutely, man. So now that it is free, you got a built-in fan base.
Yeah. That
at least from a streaming standpoint, when you put stuff out, you got people looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I think the other thing as well with this, you know, most of us who are in music now have day jobs, and you think, well, my day job, I've got no legacy really. I go in, I do my work, I earn my money, and that's it. Whereas at least with music, the things that we're not making money, but the things that we did 20 years ago,
yeah,
still getting, they're actually growing all the time. You know, you're getting more and more listens off the back of it, and you think, well, this is great. This is better than this is immortality, isn't it? You know, you release your music and it's out there forever. It's not like the work I do at work where it disappears after a day and it gets forgotten. You know,
well, it also incentivizes you to keep making music.
Yeah, I couldn't understand that when I was a kid. I think when I got to about 23 or 24 years old, I thought, right, it's time to stop. I'm too old.
Sorry, I'm not laughing at you, but I'm just laughing because of all the silly things we all think of when we're 22 and 23. You know, that's what I was.
But I remember that I remember that feeling and thinking, oh, I feel like a fraud being on stage at 27, 28 years old. I'm an old man playing.
Yeah.
Kids. And then everybody, and even then, 20 years ago, people said, well, the Rolling Stones, they're ancient and they're still gigging and still touring. And I get it now. Yeah. You know, I think their analogy then was, well, all the really great blues men weren't great until they're in their 70s. You know, they got better and better and better.
Yeah.
I've not got better and better.
Oh, I've
kind of done that.
No, I would doubt that. I'm sure you have. I'm sure you mix quicker. Your ears are quicker to say yes or no. You know,
more efficient.
Yeah, but that's what happens. You know, little subtleties over time. I mean, because if you have X amount of talent in whatever, you're not going to make another 10% jump because it's just not there to go. But if you could pick up a little slice every year and keep going, you're going to do great. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of not stopping ever.
Yeah,
I'm that old now. It don't matter. Who cares? We talked about this a few years ago. So we had. I wouldn't say a few years. It's probably about 10 years ago. And we said, well, what do you do? Do you go, let's end the legacy here? We'll just stop. Well, it's not like there's billions of people listening. Who cares? So you just carry on and keep doing it and try and improve and entertain yourself. I'd like to think there'll come a point when my audience, but the audience will be totally different. You know, I've got 2 daughters, one who can play piano, one who can sing. and she's got a great voice. And I'm thinking, oh, she'll be the King of Frog Island at some point. You know, she'll be singing, and I'll be like in my wheelchair, and she can really
mixing.
Back of it.
You'll be in your wheelchair
I'll be rolling
mixing.
around. Yeah.
Why not, man?
Yeah, why not? I'll be 100 years old, hopefully.
Man, it's so much fun to do. Why deprive yourself of that if you have a talent, you know, and a passion?
Yeah, I think that's the other thing as well. Whenever you do stop, you miss it enormously.
Yeah.
It's my, you know, it is my main hobby. There aren't many things that keep me entertained. It's unusual as well, isn't it? You know, when you're doing music, your brain, you lose sense of time and you get lost in it for hours, and all your kind of the stresses of the day get lost, and you just focus on your kind of thing. And then the good thing is, if you've done well with it and released something good or finished a good project that sounds nice, it's a pleasure to listen to it. And if you're really lucky, people will like it as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a professional, nor will I probably never release anything, but I know when I pick up my guitar, it's never happened that an hour or 2 hours later when I put it down, I feel worse. I always feel infinitely better over that time. So
I feel guitars can make you feel bad though. You know when you go and buy a guitar and you spend a lot of money on it and you get it, and after about a week you realize it's not as good as you thought.
It's not the guitar.
It's not the guitar I thought it was.
Yeah.
I'd never had a Les Paul, and I thought I will treat myself to a proper Les Paul one day.
Right on.
And Gibson did so I had an SG for years, and I got it because it was a cheap Les Paul. You know, it was £700 instead of 1,500 or whatever it was at the time.
Sure. And, SGs are a great value, man. They're great guitars.
Well, yeah, and I've never really liked the look of it. I thought the neck was a bit wide. I wasn't sure about the sound because I'd always played Fenders, but God, did I play that? I've played it, you know, most days for 20 years probably.
That's awesome.
And then I got my Les Paul gold top, and I thought, this is just perfection. It sounds great. It sounds better than all my other guitars. It's got push-pull tone pots, so you can coil tap the pickups. You can do tone bypass on it. Wonderful finish on it. Diddy neck, you know, short scale neck with the extra fret that you need when you're playing some songs. Oh man, it's heavy. I hate it. I can't play it. I used it for a gig, and after playing an SG,
it's so light.
The SG's lovely, and then you get into this old age efficiency thing. You think, well, okay, the SG is 80% as good as the Les Paul, but I don't get backache.
But if you like it, it's not. It's better than the Les Paul. You know, it's all what you like. You know, it's funny. I just had a guy on the show earlier today named Mitch Perry, and he plays like a 71 Les Paul Pro, and I think Mitch is late 50s, and it weighs 12 pounds.
Ouch.
Yeah, man. And he's like, I really feel it, but I can't play anything else. You know,
I'm glad I didn't play one when I was a kid. I think.
Yeah,
I mean, it's got weight relief. How much do they normally weigh?
Yeah, well, that's the older ones in the 70s. That's what they weighed, 12 pounds, man. That's crazy. Crazy, isn't it? I know.
I mean, I played when I first started. It was Ibanez Stratocasters, and then I had a Squire Strat. And it's only years later when you go to other guitars and then go back to a Stratocaster, and you think, oh my word, you know, it's shaped to your body. It's great. It's even got the bit on the. And I think, God, when I pick up the Les Paul and my arm's rubbing and I'm getting sore here, I think, who invented this?
So what did you do?
I love it.
Do you still have it?
Yeah, I don't sell any now. I learned my lesson. I sold that first guitar.
Yeah, the Ibanez.
And regretted it forever.
Those are nice Strats. I've played one recently. They're nice Strats.
Yeah, it's a really great sounding guitar as well. But you know, it's gone. Do
you want to make a public appeal?
No, I know where it's gone.
Oh, you do? Can you buy it back?
No, he won't sell it.
Wow, come on, man. Sell Marcus Ibanez.
Well, no, this is the problem. So I sold it to a guy called Jason Peasgood, who I was at school with. But it's his first guitar.
Oh.
So,
yeah, so he don't want to let it go any more than you
no.
didn't want to let it go now. Yeah. Oh well.
I'll be disappointed if he does.
Listen, Jason, if you just give him first right of refusal if you do so. That's fair, right?
Yeah, he'll want more than I can afford, though.
You have on the first, on the first record, Leon, The River, and then I've talked about Slate Blue Sky again. Are those related? Because it almost seems like they're a set.
I think they're related in that they were all sort of tunes that were being played around that sort of time. I think Leon was the intro to another song on that album, Psychomania. So originally it was an electric guitar piece that built up with the climax thing. So that was the gentle intro to like a big kind of Black Sabbath kind of riff. I'm trying to think. When I went in, I borrowed Matt's acoustic guitar. I think my guitar wouldn't drop tune, so I borrowed his acoustic guitar because it sounded quite nice drop tuned.
The acoustic on that is really nice. Yeah, man. It's on those songs. Yeah.
And again, I think. So I just tried it. I thought, well, I'll play it on the acoustic and see what it sounds like. I used one microphone. I think I only had an SM57. We had it in front of me, so you can hear me panting and breathing all the way through it, like nervous that I'm going to mess up playing. And I did make a mistake in it, but it was a good take, and it's that Led Zeppelin thing where you go, you know what, I'll never play it quite as good. So
dude, I've listened to both of those, all three of those songs dozens of times, and I've never once thought, oh, there's a mistake in there.
Oh no, there's mistakes in all of them.
Yeah.
But then what I do, so I think I recorded it, and then we got Dodge in, and again did the floor tom thing. So like you play some floor tom over it to lift it, and then where there's a little bit of a gaff where I'm playing, I put just a little bit of feedback guitar to draw your eye away from my mistake.
To hide the other mistake. Yeah. Is that like when a guy bumps into you and while he's picking your pocket, so you can't notice him picking your pocket?
Yeah. There's a lot of that goes on. And you think, and it worked. And you think, well, that's fine. And then I think, so I think that tune played acoustically, and it was literally, that was done, got the acoustic, it's in the room, and you're thinking, oh, okay. And I got this other idea, let's play that, and that was The River. So The River, out of all of that album, I think The River was the only thing that was not an idea that had been played live or in the back catalogue. It was
it's fresh.
It bridged the gap between the two songs. And
it's then when we were great set.
When we were sort of finished and we got the 10 songs, it's kind of, it had a natural order to it anyway. But we'd been reading about, I think it's there's an interview with somebody, I think I might get the names wrong, but I think it's Steve Lillywhite, a producer.
Yeah. You too, as producer, I think.
Yeah, and his wife was Kirsty MacColl, who's the singer who sang with the Pogues and.
Oh yes.
And
isn't that cool when you're such a superstar and you marry another superstar?
Yeah.
I wonder what that's like. I married a superstar, believe me, but I'm not. Anyway, nevertheless.
Well, but they talked about that U2. I think it's the Joshua Tree. I mean, I've never been a huge U2 fan. But I think they said to her, well, what order would you put the album in? And so she said, so she ordered the album for them and gave it them and said, oh, that's amazing. It sounds great. How did you decide on the order? And she goes, well, I put my favourite song first, my second favourite song second. And you think, wow. And so when we were doing it, that's kind of the philosophy. You think if you get people in and they're listening and they're enjoying
that's funny.
They'll stay along for the journey.
And so that's what you guys did. And you'd never know because you don't listen to that record and see, oh, there's a quality drop. at all. You know, that's funny how you just goes to show you how subjective music is too.
It is, but I think the other thing that probably, I'm hoping, like, if people are listening and they're thinking about recording, that one of the things is you'll have a great song and you'll work on that song or that riff or that tune for ages because it's your favorite, because you love it.
Yeah.
And then you'll work on another. And then when you've got 10, you'll suddenly find that 3 of them are significantly better than the other 7. And then what you do, you go back to the 7 and try and make them as good as your favorite 3. And then you find that the favorite 3 are no longer your favorite 3 and they need working on. And
that's
you keep
great.
doing this until you get that kind of level. So if you've got your album in your order, when you're doing your final mixing, you're thinking, like, how can I make that 10th song be great? Then if, I suppose, bigger bands get braver. So I think you've asked about one of the songs. I think the 3rd album, In Memoriam. You get
I wanted to ask you that, and let me just describe this song to everybody listening. So, In Memoriam, it is a memoriam, is what it sounds like, to fallen, I'm assuming, soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
And like you're reading out names there, and it's like it's kind of intense.
Yeah, so I can make it sound really ordinary now. So we had this sort of medieval theme going on.
Right.
We'd already had some artwork knocking around, and the cover of the album is a memorial in the middle of Leicester. It used to be in a place called Castle Gardens, and it's a statue of King Richard III.
That's what the album cover is.
Holding his crown.
Let me go look at that.
And he was found actually a few years ago, buried in a car park at the grammar school next to the cathedral.
This statue?
No, sorry, the actual body. So he died in battle at Bosworth. I might be getting all my history wrong. My history teacher.
Don't worry, most people listening to this are Americans. We don't know fuck all about our own history, let alone yours. So you could be as incorrect. I just make it up. Just make it sound interesting, and you win.
He found the Holy Grail and the Ark of the Covenant, and we buried it in Leicester. But they found it. They found his body in the car park in Leicester only recently, a couple of years ago, and then they actually interred him. So they did a DNA check on the bones and traced his nearest ancestors and said, yes, it is Richard III. We found him buried under the car park.
How weird is that?
Yeah, but he died at Bosworth battlefield, I think.
And so that's what that statue is, him holding up his crown.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we had that knocking around as an idea. So the In Memoriam is, and this is where we were getting a bit cocky, I think. It's the 3rd album, probably running out of ideas as well a little bit at that time. So the first song is the last song backwards. So it's the guitar off the last one played backwards at the beginning.
Okay.
But then we got the drummer in and said, can you play your marching snare drum? So he did a lot of kind of build up. And the crowd noise, it's supposed to be a crowd gathering for a hanging.
Oh.
Okay. So, but the crowd noise is myself and Gav in the studio with one microphone, just recording us over and over again, shouting abuse at the people who are going to be hung. And then what we're thinking, well, who's going to be hung? What we're going to do? Who should it be? So this is where we got a bit mixed up with history. So we went and said, well, let's get the names of all the people who were tried and executed for witchcraft, because we were thinking, this is good. It's playing on the
yeah, totally.
And somewhere on Google we found like a roll call of all the people who were executed. They're actually burnt at the stake.
Oh my God!
All the people are the people burnt at the stake. But we then put our own names in it, and we thought, well, it sounds terrible. You go in, Agnes of Leicester was, and then Mark Buteux, and you know, well, it sounds a bit jarring because so all our names were backwards to hide us in.
Oh, so you just pronounced the name. Okay. So, all right, let me understand this. The first In Memoriam, the guitar playing on that is the last track, which is Gallow Tree Gate.
Yeah.
Is the guitar backwards, and the names you're reading are your names spelled backwards.
Yeah, well, it's actually real people who were burnt at the stake, but including our names mixed in with it.
Wow.
And then,
so how do you, wait a minute. How do you pronounce Buteux backwards?
Oh no, we recorded it forwards and just played it backwards.
Oh, you just played it backwards.
Flip it, yeah.
Oh my God, I've got to go back and listen to that. That is so wild.
My favorite myth buster of that, then, there's a dog, and it's not a dog. It's Gavin Searle, who's the co-producer with me and current singer.
Barking?
So we got him to bark like a dog.
Wow. Is that maybe that's a skill set? Like he could put it out like, hey, if you need a barking dog on your next record, give me a call.
Yeah. Well, we had I tell you what. So,
I charge by the bark.
Yeah. He sounds like a Yorkshire Terrier, some like kind of small, nasty little dog. Not like.
That's so funny, man.
But we had one of the things though, one of the limitations you get if you're recording other bands, they kind of have like really grandiose ideas about what they're going to want to record and how they want it to sound. And I quite like really just saying, look, you can use what's in the room. If it's in the room and it's plugged in, you can use it. If we don't have it, you can't use it.
Yeah.
You're not going to try and do anything that's beyond the confines of these four walls. So if you're there and you're going, right, I want a dog, you think, well, you're sort of loath to go and get a sample of a dog. I'd rather just, how can we get a dog? Well, we haven't got a dog. There are no dogs locally. I don't have a dog. He didn't have a dog at the time. So the dog must be done by Gavin. I think we even got him squealing like a pig as well. So,
you know what? That's actually really good for creativity because that, you know what?
Work.
Yeah, it makes you work. And how do you think new things are going to come up? He'll bark like a dog, and then you'll say, "Hey, man, what about a pig noise?" And then he'll say, "Well, what about this? Well, how about if we have a farmer?" You know. But that's how ideas come up. So it's actually very smart from a creativity standpoint.
I think. I mean, you'll probably find this a lot with people my age. The Beatles were, a hugely influential band.
Yeah.
But when I was about 20, it was the 20 years ago today, and that's the Sgt Pepper lyric.
Right.
So Sgt Pepper was doing the rounds on the radio a lot when I was learning guitar, really getting into music. But because 20 years had gone by, people were looking at it retrospectively and saying, how did they do it on 4-track tapes and, these wonderful harmonies and all these inventive sounds? So then there was a lot of press attention and a lot of published articles about how they did it. So as an 18-year-old interested in music and recording, you're reading things like, well, they put the tapes on and they put their finger on the spool to slow it down to make it play at a different speed, or these vary speed, or they were swinging microphones around to get a phased effect, or Leslie speakers. And suddenly you start to think, okay, so all these things they're not mythical, they're just engineering tools. It's not some elaborate organ that they've just brought in. It's just a piano with a bit of carpet in it and a microphone shoved in.
Yeah.
And then you start looking at mic placements, and who doesn't like say the drums on When the Levee Breaks?
Oh, God, yeah.
You hear that and it's amazing. And then you see nowadays you can go onto Google and say, how did they do it? So, they recorded it. They had a microphone at the top of the stairs to get the echo. Well, that's just using the environment, isn't it? It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a plug-in. It's just this. It sounds good, and they captured it. And I think that's what you try and do. But when you've not got fantastic equipment or whatever, you're kind of, you're even more limited, and it's much tougher to do it. But it's much more rewarding when you do it.
Wow. So that's really great that you read and learned about these things and took that as your influence. Are you like that? Like, are you a resourceful guy like that in general outside of music? Like, if there's a problem, you don't get stressed out about it because you say, okay, we'll figure it out. Here's our, you know what I mean? Because that's almost like a life philosophy.
Probably people.
Yeah.
I'd say my day job involves a lot of that sort of stuff. So, but I'd say most things, if it's in stressful situations, I tend to get quite a clear head, and no, unless there's blood involved. If there's blood involved, but if there's no blood involved, I can be pretty pragmatic and work out a solution.
Usually, there's no blood involved.
There's blood involved. Forget it. I'm rubbish.
Yeah. That's funny.
I was a first aider for a bit, and then I realised I can't do that. I can't be a first aider. You can't be afraid of blood if you're a first aider.
Yeah, it makes it challenging.
But in a
I could just see this would be like a great cartoon, like a great skit for Saturday Night Live. You know, the guy's bleeding to death, and they send you as the first. Like, I'm the wrong guy. They messed up his call. I don't do blood.
I don't do blood.
But I'm dying.
Would you like a cup of tea?
Yeah, right. Would you like a cup of tea?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Boys will be boys. This is like the kind of thing a woman listens to this and she's like,
what?
Are you guys retarded? Like, you're making fun.
I mean, I had to deal with somebody. Oh no, I can't.
And this was the point in the interview where everything went to hell.
Yeah, just not good with blood. My daughter trapped a finger a few years ago, and I'd love to say, you know, like I was on it and I sorted it out. No, I didn't. I was just just looking at it thinking, oh my God, like my legs would go wobbling.
Oh wow. Yeah. Hey man, everybody's got their thing, you know. Everybody's got their thing.
I wish it wasn't. So I'm all right with my own blood.
So outside of blood, though, you're pretty resourceful.
Yeah, generally, I think so.
All right.
I think. I think. I'll tell you what. There's a simple sort of reason. I think if you're into music, and you're fairly serious about it, like you spend a lot of time doing it, it'll rob you of other things. You know, so maybe I could have had a different career or done more professionally in other things. So that then means that if you want to have things, for instance, I don't know, a bigger house, you'll think, well, okay, well, I'll learn how to plaster, or I'll do some bricklaying or something like that. Or if you want, you can't. I mean, you know, as a kid, I had cars that needed welding and things like that. So I couldn't afford somebody to do it. I didn't have the income, so I'd do it myself. Or if you got money, you think, well, I want to buy a new amp. I don't want to invest money on my car. I'd rather fix my car myself and buy a guitar.
Totally get it.
So I think music is financially, it can be a huge drain. I mean, I'm looking at your guitars behind you. Guitars aren't cheap, are they? You know,
no.
They're precious things, and you get them and you use them.
In fact, I have a guitar, an SG I've got to sell. I love it, but I'm selling it because I never play it because I just don't play it. And I'm not a guy that collects anything at all. I'm like not attached to anything material. So I've just came to the conclusion today I'm selling it. I'm sick of looking at it because it's just like collecting dust there, man.
Oh, I can't do it. I can't sell. I've parted with the first guitar that Ibanez. I regret that.
Yeah.
I had a Marshall JMP. It's like the one after a Plexi and the one to sort of, I don't know, early 80s, maybe late 70s.
So it was a nice, yeah.
Oh, really good. I had no idea how good it was. You know, I took it to the local guitar shop, said, I really want a dual channel amp. I'm fed up with using distortion pedals. I want proper tube gain. I don't want, you know, fuzz pedals anymore. I want tube gain. And they said, oh yeah, you need this sort of split channel dual super lead or triple super lead Marshall. Yeah, great. Got it. Thought, oh my God, it sounds rubbish. Absolute garbage. And then it turns out that the transformers are nowhere near as good as they were 30 years ago. And meanwhile, my amp's gone off and it's probably worth £1,000 now and I'll never get it again. So regret it. You know, you think, oh, for what I got for it on trading, I should have kept it because I just didn't appreciate how good it was. Another one, my very first effects pedal was a Boss chorus pedal. You know, and everybody had Boss effects. And I got this chorus pedal thinking, this is going to be great. I'll plug it in. It'll make me sound really weird and trippy and psychedelic. I've been playing guitar about 4 weeks. I plugged it in and it made me sound like an 80s band and I hated it.
Yeah.
you know, and I thought, I don't want to sound like this. This is awful. It's a who wants one of these? Got rid of it. Turns out that is the best chorus pedal ever made.
That Boss, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the CE2, which is the best chorus pedal in, can't think what it's called, Bucket Brigade analog circuitry. And you think, what? Boss were making good pedals? I just thought they made cheap pedals from Japan rather than handmade kind of American pedals, which is what everybody wants now. But turns out these pedals are great. So they're the things I've parted with, and I regret all of them. So I think, well, if I get a guitar, I'm never selling it. Even if I don't play it, there'll come a point when I'll find a use for it, or I'll enjoy it, or love it.
Yeah, I hear you.
But how can you sell an SG?
I just never, you know what? It sounds great, but I'm weird with the body for the reason that most people don't like. I mean, it literally sounds wonderful. The neck is one of the best necks I own, I've ever played. Yeah. I just never play it because of the body. It's just weirdish for me.
Well, I've got used to that, and I can't. I picked mine up tonight, and I was playing it for a couple of hours earlier, and I thought, oh, it's like coming home. I love it. I hated it. When I bought it, I wanted a Fender, and I wanted a Les Paul or whatever. But I've played it for so long now, it is just coming home. Angus Young plays.
All right, when I practice today, I'm gonna play it now, just because you fucked with my head, and I'll probably not want to sell it, and it'll be sitting there in 6 months. But I'm gonna.
If it's got 3 pickups, then no.
No, just 2. It's just got 2.
It's got 2. That's fine. Yeah. The 3 ones.
No, and they're classic 57s, which I absolutely love. Oh. I mean, it's a great guitar. I just don't play it. And I'm just like I'm sort of utilitarian. If I don't use it, I got to get rid of it. I just don't collect stuff. So
which out of the 4 behind you do you play? The Les Paul?
All of them. I play all of them. Like right now. Oh, the 335 for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that guitar. It's got 57s in it too. In fact, I'd like to experiment with putting like some old like PAF sound, but these are pretty damn good. They sound pretty vintage, these classic 57s, but I love that. I got to change the strings on there, as a matter of fact, but I love the 335, man. This jazz box, it's an Ibanez. I recently bought that because I was kind of late to the game, but I had so many guests on the show telling me about Kenny Burrell and Grant Green, sort of like jazz / blues guys. And I started listening to them, and they both played similar guitars to this. And I'm not really a jazzer, but I love the tone.
Yeah.
So I bought that recently, and I love it. And it's hard to play.
Yeah, the body's really thick, isn't it, compared to the 335?
Yes, and also the strings are 11 flat wounds, and I play like 9s usually. But but I bought that knowing all this, and I said, you know what? If I practice with this 2-3 times a week, then when I go to play any of the other guitars, it's going to be easier. I don't know if that makes sense. It's kind of like, I don't know. You don't have baseball there, but you know what baseball is, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so like oftentimes when, with the bat, they put these weights on it while they're waiting, and they swing it with the weights on there. So then they take the weights off, and then when they swing the bat, it feels lighter.
Yeah.
So conceptually it's like that. Like it's harder it's like playing an acoustic almost with a high action.
Basically what you're saying is it's bad.
No, it's just different. It's not bad. It's a jazz box, it's not like a Les Paul. It's not a Strat, with low strings.
Well,
but the tone is great.
Well, I think the tone is probably the heavy gauge strings, because I've played drop tuned, I don't know, forever.
Yeah.
Tuned to C standard, and if I play, I don't know what it's called, but like you drop.
What is C standard tuning? What is that? So it's C.
Oh my word! It's 4 step, so all strings 4 lower, and then I'll do some other tunings from there. So I might do what if you do drop D, where you just drop the E string down.
Yeah.
So I'll drop. I'm sure I'm sounding American now, but if you drop the 6th string down another 2, so that would be drop 6 strings, so you can play with 1 finger bar.
Yeah.
Kind of chords on the top 3. I used to play that forever.
Okay.
I must have played like that for about 10 years. Just
wow.
So only power chords and single finger kind of riffing.
Sure.
And then I realised if you then tune the fifth string down another 2, so that's the fifth and sixth string drop 6 steps, and then all the others drop 4, and then the first string actually dropped 6. That's an open tuning, like a slide guitar tuning.
Yeah.
And that sounds amazing. But to do all of that and get the intonation anywhere near close, you end up playing. Today, actually, I end up playing with, what are they, 12s?
Yeah, you need thicker strings. Yeah.
But I put 12s back. I'd gone because of this Les Paul kind of fiasco. I thought, light
the
strings.
Les Paul fiasco.
So
hey,
I'll play like Jimmy Page. If I put some 10s on, I'll be great, because he says use the lightest gauge you can. Sounds rubbish.
Oh, really? On the Les Paul?
Yeah, and the SG. So I put 10s on the SG, and it went in the case for about 6 months because I just didn't. So I took it out, put 12s on, and think I love it again. It's great. I'm so used to playing heavier gauge strings.
So you're playing with 12s even in standard tuning?
Yeah.
Oh, that's thick.
I don't play much in standard though. I don't it tends to, nearly all my guitars are either C standard or drop C open kind of tuning, like very light, very low. But with the thick strings, you get a really nice tone. I think the strings make a huge difference. So I don't know. I can't honestly say I know the difference between flat wound and whatever the others are, but
round wound is flat and round. The difference is it's like there's not as much sustain. It's a little plunky, like a jazz kind of tone.
Yeah, I don't even know what these are, but I do like them.
They're all round wounds, unless it says flat wounds.
Round wound.
Yeah, they're all round wound, unless it's they're a little more money too. You'll know immediately, because you'll say what, it's because they're not as popular. I guess supply and demand, they're not as popular, so they charge you more.
Yeah,
I think there's not as many of them. Sorry, they charge you more.
I'm sure I read somewhere about about the Beatles, and it was about Paul McCartney trying to sound like an American bass player when he was in the Beatles, and it was because he found that if he used flat wound strings, the tone suited bass a lot better, and he could get that sound so he used that horrible Hofner.
The Hofner,
bass?
Yeah, Hofner.
I hate it. I hate the look of that thing. He played a Rickenbacker, which looked cool.
Yeah,
I don't like that violin bass. But
no, it's not.
There's no.
But in the '60s, that was like people would look at it and say, "Oh man, that's really cool."
Did they? I don't know.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
I'd have looked at the Rickenbacker and thought, that's not. What is it? Is that 4003 or something like that? Those Rickenbackers are expensive, but I mean, we use. We've got an old '70s Fender Precision, and with guitars, if I've got a double humbucker Jazzmaster, it doesn't sound that different to the SG or the Les Paul.
Wait a minute. Do you happen to know Darren from Godsticks?
No.
He's in Wales. A lovely guy, man. And he just got a great player, very talented. He's kind of not like you, but he's like you. Your guys aren't too dissimilar. She has a sense of humor. And he just got a Jazzmaster. He's so in love with it. That's really weird, because that's not a guitar that guys who play loud rock and roll generally get.
No, I bought 2. I've got.
You have 2 Jazzmasters.
Yeah, I bought a Squire one. I don't normally buy it, but I kept reading all these reviews. We've got the Pedal Show and Anderton's Music do one.
Yeah.
Chappers and the Captain YouTube channel, really good.
You know what's going on with that guy? I don't pay attention to gossip, but all I know is I just keep seeing all these everybody's flaming that guy. I don't know. I'm out of it. I pay zero attention to gossip, but all I know is expose on Rob.
I make a point of not clicking those, because I think if I click them, I'll get more of them, and I don't want to read negativity.
No, I know. I'm the same way. That's why I'm totally divorced from gossip. I mean, literally zero. I know nothing about anything about stuff going on like that. Nor do I interested.
But they did a few reviews, and they were talking about the Squire. I think the classic vibe guitars.
Yeah.
And they're about £300 £100. So I'm guessing what, $350, $400, something like that.
Yeah, they're much cheaper than the regular.
Loads cheaper. And I got one, and I thought, well, I'd always wanted a Jazzmaster, but I thought I won't probably use it. Certainly not live. And got it, and oh god, I love it. It's made out of poplar wood. It's really light.
So you got the classic vibes Jazzmaster.
Yeah, a Squire one. Really, really like it. It's got big, fat, single coil pickups in the Jazzmaster pickups. Really like, because I loved all those sort of grunge bands, and like Dinosaur Jr. and My Bloody Valentine. They play Jazzmasters. Yes. So got it, play it. Really, really like it. It's as good as a Strat for clean. Not sure I'd use it live for fuzzy stuff. Don't know. But then I got a Fender Player Jazzmaster, which is like the Mexican version. That's got double humbuckers in. Because I like the Squire one, I thought, well, I'll get a Fender. There's not a lot in it. I think the Squire is amazing.
Okay, so the difference is the Squire has the single coils.
Yeah, the classic kind of. But the Fender one actually has proper double humbuckers in it. And I did a recording, because me being me, I did a recording of all my guitars playing. So I recorded something like a simple riff, recorded it for about 5 minutes, going through all the pickups, all the coil tap positions.
Oh, that's cool.
Using all my pedals, all in the same order. So I could A-B all my guitars. Yeah. It turns out that if they've got double humbuckers in, they pretty much sound the same.
All the guitars.
All the guitars.
So your SG sounded like your Jazzmaster.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, not a lot in it. As soon as I go through my effects and my kind of typical sort of gigging styles, people will be howling if they hear this and say it's not true. To me,
people are going to be howling anyway about something you said. It doesn't matter. I mean, don't worry about that.
But what I realised at the end of it is, I think double humbuckers are the sound of the guitar. The physical shape and comfort is the other thing. So if you want rock and you want to be on a stage and you want to play loud, you need your double humbuckers to stop all the feedback and the whistling. But then out of all the other guitars, the Strat and the Squire Jazzmaster sounded completely different, like a much really warm, round sound, but with lots of high-end treble. And I thought, well, okay, there you go. There's the value in that guitar. If you want a different sound, 350 quid, you get yourself either a Squire Stratocaster or a Jazzmaster, and to be honest, it sounds great. I think 20 years ago, not so good, but these sound really good.
It's interesting. I find a Strat is such a when you have a guy or a gal that knows how to play like a traditional blues player, clean sound. The Strat is such a unique sounding guitar, and I prefer the sound of a Gibson most of the time, a humbucker guitar, but it's not as unique sounding as a Strat.
Yeah, Strat. I mean, I've got a 70s, a CBS one. So supposedly not very good, but I think it's a sweet one. You know,
like it
sounds really nice. Yeah, it's one of the first guitars I got, and it's for Slate Blue Sky was played on it. It's got that lovely chiming.
Oh, man,
I never play the bridge pickup. It's always the neck pickup to get like the rounder, warmer sort of tones. But it's a unique guitar. You know, it just sounds great. And then you look at people through Dave Gilmour and Eric Clapton, you think, and Buddy Holly, if it's good enough for them to play, it's enough for everybody. But then the Gibson, I always find it's quite hard to get. You know, you're talking about the crashing into the sun. You know, on a Fender, you can. I think it's easier to get a bigger dynamic range out of a Fender than it is a Gibson. A Gibson is kind of. You're probably a better guitarist than I am. I'd say when I'm playing a Gibson, it all just comes out.
I'm definitely not a better guitarist than you. Let's clear the air right now. I assure you, I'm not a better guitarist than you.
When I'm playing a Gibson, it's like that. It kind of. I'm not one for using the volume pot on the guitar. You know.
Okay, but I think if you use like I use the tone knobs a lot. I rarely, I almost always play the neck pickup because I like you just said, I like a warmer sound.
Yeah.
But I find when you use the tone knobs, it really does give you a variance.
Yeah.
I really, I mean, on the, like that Gibson, I have EMGs in there.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice it. That's a classic. So it came with some really high output pickups that are standard in the classic, more like for hard rock metal guys. And I don't play that music. I'm more of a blues guy. So I had EMG was the sponsor, and they gave me a set of pickups. I installed them, and it was kind of weird. Their active pickups, I felt like both the volume and the tone all of a sudden went to 20. Like the range was so much broader, and I find that you can, for me on that guitar, I can get a bitter. I understand what you're saying with the Strat. I feel like I have it with the Gibson on that particular because of the pickups in there. That's why I was thinking of swapping the 57s out, maybe just to see what it's like on the.
Well, I bought, I mean, an extra story sort of about the Gibson. So when I went and got my first SG, I had never had a new guitar. All my guitars were all secondhand from junk shops and guitar shops. And I got the SG and I thought it was amazing, and I played it and I loved it to bits, but it didn't come with any of the right paperwork. And I thought, again, naivety. So I'd gone into the shop, I'd tried all the guitars, picked the one I wanted, bought it, took it home, and they said, oh, we'll sort out all the documents and all the paperwork and all the bits that are missing out the box, and we'll get them. And they never sorted it. So I went back and kind of said, look, come on, I'd like the right documents. So what they did, they went and got me a new guitar, another one to replace it. And I thought, fine, it's another black ebony SG, that would be great. I got it home, played it, and thought, oh my God, it's nowhere near as good as the one I was given.
Oh, wow.
And I couldn't believe the difference in these two guitars. You know, I was so naive, just assuming that they'd be the same. So even though I've just said that all double humbucker guitars sound the same, obviously they don't. But recorded, they're kind of tonally there's not a billion miles apart.
No, but you're talking about the feel of a guitar also, how it, which is huge.
But then the first thing I did was rip the pickup because I was so disappointed. I thought, right, okay, I don't care now. I'm just taking the pickups out, and I put some DiMarzios in that I liked out of another guitar, and they lived in it for years, and that's the guitar that's all over those first two albums.
Okay, so you kept the black guitar, but you just put you kept the new SG, you just swapped out the pickups.
Yeah, just to make because I didn't love it. I thought, well, you know what, I might as well butcher it and make it something different. So I took my favorite pickups out of a Les Paul copy that I'd got and didn't love, but loved the sound, and kind of made this sort of hybrid guitar out of the pickups from that one and the SG. But then played it forever and ever. You know,
but pickups are so important, and you don't know that until you switch. Like I didn't realize how important they were until I switched and put those EMGs. And I was like, wow, it really is huge.
Yeah.
But
then so we've digressed, but all I was going to say is, so out of all of guitars, the two things that really surprised me is precision basses and jazz basses. That's so different when you record them. And so for years we've been using a precision, but with me drop tuning and using 12s, you don't leave a lot of room for bass players. Right. So the jazz bass is actually higher in register, not than the guitar, but higher than the precision, and occupies a different void within the mix. So I'm actually finding it after all these years.
So you're switching over to Jazz Master now?
Jazz bass.
Jazz.
So jazz bass rather than a precision bass.
That's I'm sorry, jazz bass. Yeah, what I call Jazz Master. I'm sorry. That's really cool. What a great discovery to make.
Yeah, I'm sure lots of people have made it before me, but it's working for us. But again, it makes things evolve and sound different. So you're trying to find the space in mixes when you've got very low tuned drum kits with really slack skins on them to give a kind of a low register. You don't really want the bass being in the same space, and you don't want the guitar. So you want everything to be. It's the Phil Spector thing. You want everything to be
sonic landscape.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Tell me your top 3 Desert Island discs, just for now, this minute.
I think I'd say the White Album, the Beatles. There's a lot of information on there. I don't think it's a real eclectic mix of songs, and I think you can learn a lot from it. And I think if I was stuck on a desert island, I'd be greedy and want as many songs as I could get on an album.
You can say box set.
Can I say box set? Oh my word!
Absolutely,
okay.
man. We're throwing out all the rules today, man.
Okay, all right. I'll take the Led Zeppelin box set.
In the spirit of being creative that you so much live in, which is
but only the first 4 albums. I'll stop at Houses of the Holy.
The first, right. yeah. I'm kind of the same way, man. Although I got to tell you, man, Physical Graffiti and Presence, I love both of those. Houses of the Holy is kind of the only. What? Yeah. Kind of.
yeah. We've mentioned Monster Magnet already, haven't we? So I think it's something different. Cheesy, but I'd probably take something like Rumours, Fleetwood Mac.
That's cool.
So there's no stoner rock in that. I should have said Welcome to Sky Valley by Caius.
By who?
Said that. Caius.
Oh, so you know what? I've listened to them. I really want to get into them. I've never been able to do that.
I think we call it a Marmite band here. So
why is that?
You either love it or you hate it.
Yeah. I it's just too sludgy for me. I like. I like.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's just a little too sludgy for me. I like something with like your music. There's songs, Monster Magnet, melody, songs. I just found the Kaya stuff a little too sludgy for me. I mean, I'm in the minority. They're hugely popular amongst most stoner rock fans.
I think I think that's where Queens, the Stone Age, kind of bridged that gap. I think that first couple, 2 or 3 albums that they did with it is super. Really, they've got you've got pop songs on there that are done with drop tune guitars and fuzz pedals or overdrive pedals and heavy amps. It's great. But I think the thing is, so Beatles, you get the just wonderful music that tells a story. All 4 of them could sing. All 4 of them could play. There's so much sort of intellect in their music and so much expression and depth. That's just. I don't think they'll ever be topped because you won't get 4 people that good together again doing something. And then Led Zeppelin, you've got kind of the birth of rock,
hard rock, man. That was it.
Proper hard rock, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I still love the first album. I think that's my favourite. There's a great video of them on. It's called, I think it's Denmark Radio or something like that. It's done in Denmark. It's a black and white film of them. I think before the albums come out, just as that first album's come out, and they were billed to play as the Yardbirds, but turned up and did it as Led Zeppelin. And you watch that and you just think, oh, it is rock and roll. It's like the moment rock was born in that kind of hard rock format.
So if I look up on YouTube, Denmark Radio, Led Zeppelin, you think I'll find it? Okay, thank you.
Maybe. You definitely find it on the box sets, the DVD box sets or Blu-ray or whatever. So I think that sort of thing, and then through to, see, nobody likes Volume 3, the acoustic one with, I can't think what's on it. That's the way. Yeah. I really love that. I think it's great. They're one of the bands that if you listen to their albums back to back, 4 albums, all 4 of them are a journey.
Yeah.
You got most bands do it in 1 album. They do it over 4 albums.
Well, I thought that's what Pink Floyd did to me too, man. Everything, was like a trip, man. It was really good.
Yeah, I think I was going to say, I think something like when you listen to Dark Side of the Moon, like it's the whole thing, isn't it? You're not just listening to one track in isolation. You've got to kind of listen to all of it.
Yeah, totally. Funny story about the Beatles. When I started dating my wife, she's from over there, I told you. And I said, so I think the first time maybe she came to my apartment, I said, you want to hear some music? She goes, yeah. I said, oh, I know what she likes. And I put on the Beatles because she's from England. So I put the Beatles on and she goes, what is this shit? I said, I'm feeling like about this big at that point. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to. And she wasn't she's like like pop music, not like disco music, kind of almost, you know. And like I had none of that in my collection, but we managed somehow, you know.
You needed to put some ABBA on, or
No, the closest I had was like that she was remotely in her range was like Marvin Gaye or something like that, but
okay.
she was not into any of the music. Like I said, we survived somehow. Here we are, 27
I
years
think,
later, we made it.
yeah, I do wonder. That's the one thing I wonder about the Beatles. When you go back and listen, you think they didn't. It's a pity they weren't around for another 5 or 6 years, because then I think they would have explored rock like the Stones did, and I think they
Yes,
probably would have done more soulful,
like almost
right?
R&B or funk kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah, I see them. Yeah, definitely, because they had such great groove and they had such songwriting skills. Yeah, I would agree with you there.
and I think
Definitely.
that's the shame. The shame with them, but. And you can see it when they get to near the end of their career, sort of Abbey Road era. You think they're just on the brink of that rock and that, not hard rock, but
Yeah,
popular
no, it was
rock.
just on the brink of harder rock for sure. More blues hard rock kind of thing. Yeah, I agree with you, man.
Yeah,
Hey, tell me what makes you happy.
guitars, family. The girls are great. You know, when you're sitting in here recording music and one of them singing, that's just,
Oh, that is nice, man. And one of your daughters, that is really nice.
yeah. Wasn't so good when they didn't know what they're doing, but now they can do, now they can actually do stuff. It's great. I'll tell you what. No, I'll tell you what really made me happy. They and this is the thing about music. So they're just constantly watching YouTube and do performances and things at school. And it's quite popular at the moment to play ukulele. So lots of British kids at school are playing ukuleles to get them into music. And both of them sat down with YouTube and learned to play. I can't even remember what the song was, but it's some popular song at the moment, which is a piano piece that somebody's transcribed it on YouTube to play it on ukulele and done it in a way that you strum the chord and sing the line and strum the next chord and sing the line. And within a day, they were both sitting there harmonizing with each other, singing and playing ukulele.
That's
And,
really nice, man.
and I think, well, that's what it's about. And I think, oh well, if I'd have had YouTube 28 years ago or
Oh yeah.
30 years ago, wow, how much would you know?
Instead of lifting the needle and putting
Yeah,
it on the record and then lifting it again and hurrying up. Yeah. That's
and trying
cool,
to
man.
work out. I mean, even things like guitar tunings and effects pedals. I know so much more now than I knew 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Everything then was. I remember going watching a friend's band play, and I just thought, oh wow, what is that sound? And it was an original Big Muff pedal, and I'd never heard anything like it. You got one?
Yeah, I have one. It's all connected though. Not the original. It's just
Well,
an EHS X Big Muff. You know, I love
yeah,
them.
I've got a few of them knocking around in here, but
It's a
I've got.
great stoner sound, a great fuzz, man.
Yeah, I've got a Wampler version, and then I've got 3 electro harmonics ones. But for years, you couldn't get the New York one. You know what the Big Muff Pie. You couldn't. They were just
Oh,
so.
how
They're
is that
still.
different than this? Because I have the white one, not the silver one. What is the difference
Um,
outside of the size?
I think so. They changed the circuit over the years. I think the earlier ones are not quite so highly driven. They're a bit more buzz kind of range. Then they changed. I think they went from germanium transistors to silicon. And
Right.
my understanding is that germanium are a bit more heat sensitive. They have a nicer kind of breakup and distortion, so you get that kind of Dave Gilmour thing going on, or Hendrix kind of sound. But then when you go to silicon, it's much more stable, and you can go to a much higher gain.
Okay.
And then when you get into the sort of, I don't know what era, but like bands like the Smashing Pumpkins, they were using op-amp Big Muffs,
What were they using?
op-amp, so operational amplifiers rather than transistors, and they sound different again.
That's yeah,
And
because
then
that's really distorted, heavy distortion, man.
yeah, different, much different sound. And then when I bought one, you couldn't get the original sort of 60s or 70s Big Muffs for love nor money in England. They're just stupid money and rare. or completely broken and beyond repair. But you could get the Russian ones. So whoever I can't remember his name, but the guy who owned Electro-Harmonics had moved his business to Russia and created these horrible looking black big muffs and green big muffs that sound different again. And I got one of those thinking, it's great. Kind of disappointed it wasn't the real deal. Played it for years. Went back to the songs recently looking and thinking, how did I get some of these tones? And Welcome to the Void is a good example. Went back to that and thought, wow, my big muff doesn't sound like that. What was I playing? And dug out the old pedal, and turns out that I've got 3 big muffs and they all sound completely different, and the Russian one is the best by a mile.
Okay.
For me, for my tone and my guitar, it suits me.
Do you know this company over here that specializes in fuzz pedals, and they're $600-700 each. They're very and their pedals are called like Sputnik.
Right. That would be the Russian.
Right, yeah. Correct. So what they do is, man, I can't think of the name of it. Let me just look up real quick, because they're very smart in their marketing. They will release these pedals on a limited basis. But as a guy who's kind of in marketing and spaceman, now I'm not saying they do this, but they also, they charge a lot of money for them because they make limited edition of these pedals, but they all seem to be sort of very slight flavors of Kool-Aid, like this is an orange Kool-Aid, this is tangerine, so I mean, but those are some of the best sounding by far pedals I've heard, but I'm not spending $600 on a fucking pedal, man.
No,
that's just
nuts. I was looking recently, for years when I was playing, I was using, I still got it, it's behind me, an orange dual terror, because I got into this thing where I've been using fuzz pedals, but with I'd kind of turn the Marshall up until it broke up on the preamp, so you got a bit of crunch, then stick a fuzz in front of it, and it kind of works but it's stupid, mind melting levels of volume when you're doing it. And you kind of go, okay, well, I want something a little bit simpler and I want more reliable, so I got a dual channel Marshall, which I just hated. It was a horrible piece of junk. And then got this orange dual terror, which is a really simple amp, 30 watts, still mega loud. It's really
30 watts is plenty loud for most things, man. It really is.
I'm sure it's as loud as the 50 Marshall. It's really, you can rattle the building with it. And but that had got a really nice clean channel, which is like a tiny terror channel, but it's proper rock, 70s sort of rock sound. And then it's got a fat channel, which has just got a bit more warmth to it. And I just used that instead of a fuzz pedal. So I'd use the fat channel as my heavy drive sound and the clean, and then ended up realizing that when you go into the amp, the impedance, whatever goes on with leads and pedals, that you lose that much tone out of your guitar that I thought I can't have pedals in front of it anymore. So I was just going straight into the amp with no effects pedals at all, and I played like that for years, just using the 2 channels.
And you used a preamp to create your breakup. Yeah. Man, I have the same thing on a little PV Delta Blues. It's 30 watts. It's wonderful. Same thing, man. I really dig it.
Yeah. And I think that's it. That then playing becomes just about the amp. But then, I don't know whether it's just age or whatever, you get a bit, you think, well, I've just got to experiment more. So I sort of dug out all my old pedals and thought, right, okay, I'm going to find something to interest me again and get me layering different sounds and trying to create something a bit fresh. And then started to realise, actually, I don't think big muffs work. I think it's too much. Good live, recorded, not sure. I think it ends up just kind of really just this fat mush of noise that you can't do a lot with. But then when you get the lower gain settings, I think you start to hear the breakup and things like that. It gets a bit more interesting. Well, you get that kind of smoother sort of tone out of them.
I was playing it the other night, Welcome to the Void, and I used the big muff for it. It was funny because it just sounds not like the record, but it's pretty close, and I just love, I love that repeating line there. It's just, it's really good.
Well, there's two different totally different guitars. So one of them is a I don't know what you call it, like a Strat with a humbucker and the bridge pickup.
Yeah,
Is
like
on
an
the left.
HSS.
Yeah, with it actually tuned to B, so it's in standard tuning, but the E string right down to B, and it's all played on one string, just 3 chords or 3 notes. And then the other one was, I think it was this guitar. The main guitar was Matt, I'd say the right hand guitar, and from memory, I think he used the black big muff, which is the Russian big muff,
The one you like.
Marshall, and and it just sounds lovely. You know, it's a really round,
perfect.
Smooth,
that whole record.
perfect
Your mixing
tone.
is good, man.
All our mixing.
All your mixing. Your collaborative. That's good, man. The mixing of the music of Kings of Frog Island is very good, man.
Everybody who's involved is equally responsible for everything that's on there. I think we talked about this loads.
You're all awesome.
Yeah,
no, it really is.
I mean, how many bands? I mean, what's that thing? The story about the Animals and the House of the Rising Sun, and the keyboard player got all the money because he said he came up with the melody, the arpeggiated kind of melody, which the guitarist plays.
Yeah.
And you think, well, that's nonsense. Surely the band, that whole thing is the culmination of its parts. So even if you if you're in a band room on a night playing, and the drummer chooses a certain groove, are you telling me the drummer hasn't written the music?
You know, I think I had a guy on my show, and I don't remember off the top of my head who it is. He goes, bands only fight once they're successful.
No worries about that then. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying. So like when you have stuff like this to argue about, I don't know. I'm not, it's who the hell knows what's going on? It's easy on the outside to say that. You would think so. It sounds like common sense. Like if you came out with the arpeggiated thing, but he came out with this and he came out with that. Well,
Well, what about? I mean, what about? You're in the room. You come up with the groove. You play it at a certain tempo. You play it with a certain emotion. But then maybe your bit isn't actually the best bit, so you get muted and you get removed from the mix.
Right.
I'd still argue you're part of it. It wouldn't exist without you doing that initial kind of vibe or groove or whatever. So I think that's important. I mean, when we were early days of the band, we talked about it. Said one of the conditions of working with me and Gav and Dodge is you have to accept that you're either part of the core and equally responsible and get equal credit for everything, or you're not in it.
Yeah, and I think there were bands back in the day where you would get the album and you'd look at it, because I remember doing this, I don't know off the top of my head, and you'd see songs written by, and it would be everybody.
Yeah.
It would be everybody. But they were few and far between.
What about, I mean, I used, think about it from a financial sense. In the old days, you'd buy an album or a CD with 10 tracks on it, and you've bought it because of the hit single that you liked, that you heard on the radio. But you've got the other 9 songs. But it might be that the other 9 songs were written by somebody else, but they're getting all the money for the one song that was written by the guitar player rather than Jim Morrison.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
And I think that you share it and you just make it even. Nobody can argue that.
Yeah, I think it's the dynamics of the band. If it's truly a band where like we're living and dying together, that's probably sounds fair. I don't know that, fair is and business sometimes don't go together.
No, maybe not.
Sometimes. Man, I'm going to ask you a very tough question. What do you like most about yourself?
I think people tell me I'm reasonably positive and think of a positive approach to things, and I think, I think that's it. So like, you don't stop, you keep going, and you keep looking forward and be positive.
And you're fair, obviously. If you're willing to share credit, man, that's pretty cool.
You got to be fair.
I think so. Who's had the biggest influence on you, musically and personally?
Okay, personally, I'd say probably this sounds so silly, but it's parents. So
no, that sounds great. That's what a lot.
I'd say as a kid, my dad was always very much, you're good at this, you're amazing at that, you're great at this, you're wonderful at that.
Dude, that is awesome.
You know, it makes you fearless. So when you're looking at something like a guitar and you don't know how to do it, you think, well, I'm sure I can work it out, rather than have any kind of.
Yeah, that's really cool, man.
So I think that's applied to everything. You know, whatever I do, I think I always look at it and think, oh, I can do it. I'm sure I can do it. It'll be fine. And I know that's Dad that's done that, and my mum. Musically, it's actually the people I've been in the band with. I mean, Lee, the bass player, when I was young, he was the one who introduced me to really cool music, and got me listening to the good records and turning me on to fuzz guitars and things like that. So I got, you know, I still see him every Thursday. He lived in America for a bit, but he's come back, and you know, it's
back
great to carry on. Yeah, it's local again, so we're recording and doing stuff again.
That's nice.
And then really it's Gav and Dodge who are also in the band. You know, they've always kind of pushed and found new ways to sort of explore things and get me interested in things. You know, they'll play things to me because they know that I'm kind of got my head stuck in what we're doing. They're the people who bring other things in and say, you need to listen to this. And they'll just give me enough to kind of draw my eye away and get me looking at something different and new. I've always done it.
Gavin is the guy I spoke to.
Yes.
Right. Right. That's cool, man. You mentioned your dad. Most important thing, I guess, your dad taught you and your mom taught you.
I think for Dad, like I say, it was the you can do this kind of attitude.
That's great, man.
And Mum she's really creative, so she's not musically or artistically, but she was kind of a dressmaker, and good at doing craft things. So I think as a kid, I was a geek. You know, I liked science and maths and all those kind of things, and computers and video games and programming. And my mum would then give me a load of cardboard and some scissors and some sellotape and get me to make something. And
that's cool, man.
I think, you know, and I think that creative kind of side of it, I mean, she still does it. She's done it with my children. It makes you, when you're looking at things like creating music, you're approaching it like it's building blocks. You know, it's Lego, or it's something you're assembling it and creating something out of it. So I think that's.
Well, she also was resourceful because she didn't give you like, you know, here's 30 pounds of art supplies. She gave you some cardboard, tape, scissors, and sounds like some basics. And she said, go out and create. And that sounds like what you do to yourself, and how you kind of spur creativity on in your band. Yeah,
well, I think it's money as well. I mean, they weren't particularly well off, you know, so it was a necessity. But I think then you take that necessity, you take that through your life, don't you? You know, if everything that you've got is hard worked for,
you're pretty.
Or if you look at something and think, well, I can't have it. What's the next best thing that I can do? Well, I can make it myself, or I can create it myself, or, you know, if I can't afford to go into an expensive studio for £4,000, I'll buy a 4-track for 400 quid and do it myself.
Yeah.
So that's it. It applies to everything.
Very cool, man. Do you have any hobbies outside of music?
No. I do like being creative. I think if I can, mute. So maybe some people look at music and they'll play guitar and go, well, I play guitar. But for me, the guitar is probably just a tool that helps me do the recording. The recording is the hobby.
Yeah.
The recording. Yeah. So if I'm sitting there and thinking, right, okay, I want to record something. Well, I haven't got Eric Clapton to turn up later, or some kind of guitarist come. So I have to do it myself.
Yeah.
So I'll sit and play something and record. I think the creative, I mean, I'm being a bit facetious. I think if with the music, I'm still creative like I do. I've got a camper van. I converted that myself. So I have projects. I think if I have a hobby, it's completing projects.
It's interesting. Most producers slash engineers, but just call it producer for the big picture. Not most, many play an instrument, and they're the same, with the same philosophy that you have of let's get this done, and how about adding some of this, or so I mean it's nice to hear that, your sincerity about your passion is recording, and the guitar is your means to an end to accomplishing that.
Yeah, I realized a long time ago that I was never going to be a super duper sort of lead guitarist.
Yeah.
But the more that recording took over, the more you can cover your mistakes. I talked earlier about, you play something, you don't play it perfect, but through engineering, you can hide it.
Yeah.
Make yourself sound pretty good. I think the guitar's always just been a means to an end. There's a lot of things that we'll do. So I'll sit down, I'll play loads of guitars. I'll play the bass, then the bass player will come in and go, right, let's mute your bass and let's do the bass properly. And I don't care.
Yeah.
And then one of the Kings, Tony, is great. He's a dance music DJ in his youth. So he'll come in and he'll mute everything I've played. You go, well, all of that is garbage. Let's just keep the drums and the bass.
That's so funny.
You go, yeah, that's great. It sounds much better.
That's good.
I'm not pressured. I don't. As long as it gets created and it gets done and it sounds good, I'm happy.
Yeah, man.
Whether I'm on it, if I get erased, I don't care. As long as the project finishes, that's all that matters.
You could tell your passion is the creative completion of the creativity of the creative project.
Yeah.
You're a good leader, man. In that sense, you don't I think somebody needs to have that focus to kind of drive the bus, to get it done.
I think most.
Not to take anything away from the other guys on the.
No, I'm probably the tyrant of us all. I'm the one who will push to do stuff. But the good thing is, over the years, whenever I have backed off a bit and had enough of it, I need a break, they'll carry on, and then
that's great.
Reel me in again, and it goes around. But it is my hobby. Without it, I don't know what I'd do.
Well, dude, you got a sixth album coming out, so you're doing something right. 5 great records. I know the 6 is gonna be just as good. Tell me about a specific experience that changed your life or changed the way you think about things.
I think, keeping it sort of recording related, because it's a lot of what I've been doing with my life. I think having close friends move away. So when you're used to doing something, so being in a band can be like a bit of a family, can't it? You're playing every week together, you're socializing together, you're writing together and recording and doing all these things. And then as people go and life pulls them away, it's realizing it doesn't actually stop. Life is actually quite a long journey. I've got people in the band who I might see once a year, but when they come, they'll come and they'll sit down and then record, and they're still every bit as part of it as they were when they were there every week. So I think that's the thing. It's like not ever looking at it like it's the end. It's just part of the journey.
That's cool, man. And last question, Mark, what has been the biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and how much of that has been intentional and how much is just a natural part of aging?
Somebody said to me recently, you never used to suffer fools gladly, which means I'm not very good at tolerating.
I'm with you. Yeah. You're patient. Yeah.
And but what they said is that but recently you've got good at managing it, and I think that sounds awful. But
you're more patient.
I've got much more patient as I've got older, and what I've realised, I think, is when I was younger and intolerant and in a hurry to get things done, I was just ignorant. So I've got wise.
Yeah, we have a tendency to look through our lens and not realize there's other lenses out there when you're young.
So I think I'm a little bit less ignorant than I was when I was younger.
That's good, man. It's funny. The answer on this is I'd say 75% of the answer that I get to this question is either what you said, I'm more tolerant and more relaxed about stuff, or I don't have any tolerance for stuff anymore. It's split 50-50. It's really interesting. Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah.
Well, maybe maybe in 20 years' time, if you ask me again, I'll say I'm really
intolerant now. No, I don't know. It's just funny though, because I think the guys that say they're less tolerant, I don't think they mean they're less tolerant of people. I think what they mean is I choose to not accept as much bullshit from people, where they're like, I'm setting healthier boundaries for myself. You know, I think I think a good chunk of them are saying I'm setting better boundaries for myself. I don't really think they're saying I'm less tolerant of bullshit. I think they're saying I'm less tolerant of bullshit as it relates to me and my world, what I'm willing to put up with, sort of. You know, because I think most people do get nicer as you get older.
I think I've just realised that as I've got older, that the people you meet on the way, you meet again later on. so just be nice all the time.
Yeah, be nice all the time. There was this guy, a session player out of Nashville who used to play in Muscle Shoals, told me this, that one of the guys who owned Muscle Shoals was Barry Beckett, and he had a sign in his office in front. It said, be careful who you piss off, because the person whose toes you step on today are attached to the ass you need to kiss later on, or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's true.
Mark, thank you very much. Let me tell people again where to find you guys. And it's Mark Buteux, spelled Buteux, and Mark is with a K. But best place to connect with Mark and with the Kings of Frog Island is on their Facebook page at Kings of Frog Island. Their music is available literally everywhere that you could stream or buy music. If you are new to Kings of Frog Island and you want to check out, you know, their entire first album, great. The second album's great. I'm really partial to a song we talked about a lot here called Welcome to the Void. But, you know, all their records are great. You know, that's just a starting place. You could listen to any of them. They released 6 singles, I think, last year in 2019. Are those 6 going to be part of the...
No, it's actually more in the end. We release something every month, but some of them were EPs, like quite long plays. We managed to do 13.
Did you? You know what? I've only got 6 of them. I wonder why. That's weird.
But no, they're not. They're standalone. The album is separate to all of them.
So this is really like a 7th album.
Yeah,
maybe you should call it like VI plus, like 6 plus, and then you'll mess people up, because you'll have the real like OCD people. Where's 6? You know, anyway. So check out the new record that's coming out this spring on Cosmic with a K, Artifacts, German label. Also, the band has a YouTube page. So if you go to their Facebook page and like the Facebook Kings of Frog Island page, that'd be really cool. Go to their YouTube page and subscribe. That would also be really cool. And if you like the music and you are interested in you do music that's similar, and you're interested in perhaps working with Mark as a mixer or engineer or producer, go to the Facebook page and hit him up, let him know, send him your music so, you know, he can at least understand what you're doing. And if it's a match, maybe you guys could work together. But just give him information, be detailed what you're doing. Here's some of our music, so he can come back and make some sort of and have a conversation with you about it. You know, you help him help you, I guess is what I'm saying. And that's about it. Did I miss anything else, man?
No, that's great.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, man. Thank you so much for all the music you made over the years. I'm a huge fan, and I'm really glad we get to talk. And it's always really cool for me when I get to meet my own musical heroes, man. So thank you very much. Thank all the guys in the band. You guys have kept me happy for many, 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 many hours, man. Many, many climaxes you brought me to musically. Musically, that is. All right, everybody.
Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure, Mark. Thanks, man. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Check out the Kings of Frog Island, and like I said, hit them up on their like their Facebook page, and go to their YouTube channel and subscribe to it. The new album's coming out. It's called 6. It's coming out in the spring on Cosmic Artifacts. Thanks very much to Mark Buteux for spending time with us. Thank you, brother. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Until next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. Mark, thank you for everything, brother.
Cheers.